Discover the life and work of Helen Levitt, an iconic American photographer celebrated for her candid street photography, capturing the vibrant essence of New York City. A pioneer of street photography, Levitt's personal and humanizing approach transformed the conventions of the genre. Levitt rejected the idea established by her predecessors that a single photograph could capture the whole truth within a coherent narrative. Rather, her images are open-ended and wondrous, and in this way, allude to a reality beyond what is depicted within the image itself. This translated well into the world of film, where she was also an early pioneer of avant-garde filmmaking. Preferring more solitary work, Levitt returned to street photography in her later career, embracing color and illustrating that it could be just as powerful an art form as traditional black and white images. This video explores her unique ability to document urban life with authenticity, focusing on the everyday moments of children, neighborhoods, and cultural diversity. Learn how Levitt's pioneering style influenced modern photography and why she remains a timeless figure in visual storytelling. Join us as we uncover her artistic journey, groundbreaking contributions, and the enduring impact of her work on the world of art and photography. My Book Through the Lens. Inspiring quotes from master photographers is now available for purchase. This book is a captivating and inspiring collection of insights, reflections, and wisdom from some of the most renowned photographers in history. Get your copy now. The link to purchase it on Amazon is available below in the description box. Helen Levitt was born on August 31st, 1913, in Brooklyn's Bensonhurst neighborhood, New York, to a Russian Jewish immigrant family. She was the middle child with two brothers. Her father, Sam, ran a wholesale knit goods store, and her mother, May, was a bookkeeper. Despite having Meniere syndrome, Levitt studied ballet and loved cinema, particularly the slapstick of Chaplin and Keaton, which influenced her photographic and filmmaking style. As a teenager, Levitt wanted to be an artist, but felt she could not draw well. In 1931, bored with high school, she dropped out during her senior year and started working for a commercial photographer in the Bronx, where she learned darkroom skills. She saved enough from her $6 weekly salary to buy a used Voigtlander camera and began photographing her mother's friends. Without formal education, she learned by attending exhibitions and studying the work of Ben Shahn and Henri Cartier-Bresson. Shahn's gritty street photography inspired her, and Cartier-Bresson showed her that photography could be an art form. After meeting Cartier-Bresson in 1935, she joined him on a photo shoot in the Bronx. She learned from him the importance of luck, planning, and composition. Levitt's lack of educational and social privileges compared to Cartier-Bresson and Walker Evans enriched her work. To develop her eye, she frequented art galleries and museums, studying compositions and paintings. Working as a part-time teacher in Spanish Harlem, she noticed children's chalk drawings on sidewalks and began photographing them, later capturing the neighborhood's adults. Levitt's ability to observe and wait for moments made her an exceptional street photographer, with a unique combination of toughness, certainty, curiosity, and joy, as noted by writer Francine Prose. In 1938, Levitt reached out to Walker Evans to share her street photos, becoming friends with him and meeting writer James Agee, who would later become an important influence in her career. Evans taught her how to use a Winkelsucher, a right-angle viewfinder that allowed her to take candid photos, and asked her to help print images for his American Photographs exhibition. She became known for her skill as a master printer of Evans' work. Levitt's own project, A Way of Seeing, included her photos and an essay by Agee. Her photos appeared in Fortune in 1939 and were featured in the first exhibition of the Museum of Modern Art's Photography Department the following year. In the 1940s, Levitt expanded her creativity. Although a reluctant traveler, she went to Mexico in 1941, photographing the urban poor in Mexico City. Upon returning, she assisted Evans on his Subway series. Her first solo exhibition, Helen Levitt Photographs of Children, was held at MoMA in 1943. Levitt also collaborated with Agee on The Quiet One in 1948, a documentary about an emotionally disturbed African-American boy, which was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Documentary and Screenwriting. In the 1940s, Levitt worked as a film editor for Louise Buñuel, shifting her career focus to film. She created her short documentary In the Street in 1953, which captured street life in Spanish Harlem. It was critically praised and aligned with her earlier work, which Agee described as lyrical photographs. After working full-time in film, Levitt returned to photography in 1959. Her career gained momentum in the 1970s when her images of street life regained public and critical interest. She was one of the pioneers of color photography, which added a new vibrancy to her work known for its sophisticated humor and spontaneous urban scenes. She said of her interest in color, "I wanted to try stuff with color." Levitt received Guggenheim grants in 1959 and 1960 to explore color photography, and her work was published in Harper's Bazaar, Time, Fortune, and the New York Post. She continued her film career as a cinematographer, producer, assistant director, and editor for films like The Savage Eye in 1960 and The Balcony in 1963. A Ford Foundation grant in 1964 supported her documentary work, but by the 1970s, she found filmmaking too difficult due to the need for collaboration. In 1970, her apartment was burglarized and most of her color negatives were stolen. She responded by photographing with renewed energy. Her work was featured in a groundbreaking 1974 slideshow at the Museum of Modern Art, one of the first exhibitions of color photography presented this way. In the early 1990s, sciatica made color printing difficult, and she switched to a small Konica camera. She also noted how changes in New York affected her work as children moved indoors. In 1991, the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art held her first retrospective, and in 1997, Helen Levitt, Mexico City, was published. A very private person, Levitt gave few interviews. She lived in a modest apartment with her companion, a cat named Binky, and passed away peacefully in 2009. Her friend and the director of photography at Columbia University, Thomas Roma, said she never had a moment where she wasn't completely engaged, even right up until the end. Helen Levitt's work captures the pulse of humanity in its most spontaneous and unfiltered moments. Often described as lyrical and poetic, her photographs go beyond these words, offering a profound window into the streets of New York, a city she knew and loved deeply. Her images tell stories of resilience, joy, and transformation, portraying the everyday life of ordinary people in ways that feel timeless and deeply moving. Levitt's journey as a photographer began humbly, working in the darkroom of a commercial portrait photographer. From there, she ventured boldly into the streets with a secondhand 35mm camera, carving her unique path in a male-dominated field. What set her apart was her ability to connect. Her photographs reflect a rare intimacy, a gentle, unspoken dialogue between her and her subjects. She didn't simply observe, she engaged. In her frames, children dance, neighbors chat, and life unfolds with an almost theatrical rhythm. Her images are more than snapshots. They are collaborations. The people she photographed often acknowledge her presence, smiling, posing, or playfully interacting with her lens. Yet, through skillful composition, she created narratives that transcended those moments, capturing something universal and enduring about the human experience. Levitt's work was profoundly influenced by the cultural and political currents of her time. From surrealism to social realism, her artistic voice grew out of a rich tapestry of ideas. But her perspective was always her own, empathetic, unpretentious, and uniquely attuned to the beauty of fleeting moments. She saw the streets as a stage where even the smallest gestures could resonate with immense meaning. Her later foray into color photography revealed a boldness often masked by her quiet demeanor. The vibrant reds and greens of her prints added new dimensions to her street scenes, imbuing them with a fresh, otherworldly quality. Tragically, much of this groundbreaking work was lost in a 1970 burglary. Yet, even then, Levitt persevered, returning to the streets with renewed purpose, creating images that reflected the evolving character of New York as it became a city shaped increasingly by capitalism and consumerism. Despite her fame, Levitt remained a deeply private person, living alone with her cat and rarely granting interviews. "I've felt unsteady all my life," she once remarked, a sentiment that perhaps fueled the quiet determination behind her lens. Photography gave her stability, a way to navigate the chaos of life while uncovering its hidden order and beauty. Levitt's legacy is a reminder that art doesn't need grand gestures or elaborate statements to leave a lasting impact. Her work speaks to the power of observation, of finding wonder in the ordinary, and of celebrating the simple, profound connections that bind us all. Her streets were alive with stories, and through her lens, they continue to speak, to inspire, to challenge, and to remind us of the extraordinary in the everyday. Helen Levitt's art reminds us that beauty and meaning are everywhere, waiting to be seen by those who are willing to look closely. Her photographs invite us to slow down, to notice the unnoticed, and to embrace the richness of the everyday. In a world that often moves too fast, her work is a call to pay attention, to connect with the people and stories around us, and perhaps to find a piece of ourselves in the quiet poetry of life.